and I need to see it. And I know there's a little delay. That's just how the world works. I have to see it or I don't believe it. And it looks like we're live, but I have to see it. I have to see it or it isn't real. I have seen it. It is good. I have seen it and it is good. That is awesome. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon to all my East Coast. I was gonna start with evening, really mix it up, but I won't. Good afternoon to all my East Coasters. Good morning to all my West Coasters, and of course, good evening if you were in a time zone where it is evening. And happy future, New Zealand, Australia. How's the future? Solve climate change for the rest of us, please. Special shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. First, our friends over at ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. You can get it wholesale because of the pandemic. And we might be having a Ron tea soon. Keep your fingers crossed. Our friends over at triageoil.com, TRIAGE oil.com. They make topical pain oil you put on your body. I use it on my neck. Check it out and get educated on cannabis issues. And our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is the only place to find all the articles and vids from your favorite creators. I'm there as well, and it gets updated twice a day. To subscribe to their podcast and to join their Discord, check them out at independentleft.media. Also, their theme song was written and performed by yours truly. I did their theme song for them. So good stuff. Check it out. Without further ado, got some news of the day today, and my guest is a regular, very funny comedian. You know him. He's on this show regularly, but please welcome back Mr. Krish Mohan. Krish, what's up, buddy?
How's it going, man? Good to see you.
Happy 2021.
Happy 2021.
I hope you're having a good New Year. I hope it's like going from 2020 to 2021. It's like watching your sports team get the shit beat out of them, and then you're like, well, it's only one game. I mean, next game's a new game. Then the next game happens and they start getting the shit beat out of them again. And you're like, there might be a coaching problem. I feel like maybe that's what it was like going from last year to this year. Like, no, we're still, all right.
A lot of it is like, should we get a new team? Should we just do the team over?
Start all over again.
Just start from scratch.
Let's just start from scratch. Let's just redo all of this. I think the experiment's over.
Yeah. I feel like we're good. I feel like we got the results. It didn't work out. Maybe we try something completely different this time.
We gave this a shot. We gave it a good old 50-some-year try under the current thing we're living under. We tried it from pretty much the mid-'70s till now. It has not worked. And it's like having a car that keeps completely breaking down every 20 miles or so. And you're like, well, I feel like, I mean, there were those 20 miles back there where it was okay, and then it just broke down again. I wonder, man, maybe we need to try something else.
Do you think we need a new car?
Might need a new car. Might need maybe some different parts. Maybe
or just
our maintenance plan really did not work out.
Yeah, or maybe just switch to a bicycle. Who knows?
There you go. We're ready for the bicycle era. Complete with lanes.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is what I titled the stream today. Is Mitch McConnell about to get everything he wants? Pretty much. Because check out this headline, Krish. This is really the media knocking it out of the park here. So here's a headline from AP. McConnell backs off Senate filibuster fight with Schumer. Okay, so we all know what's going on there. Mitch McConnell, he wants the filibuster to be a thing, which means a member of the Senate can override something or can stall something unless it has support from 60 Senate members. Democrats, of course, presumably don't want that because it's a 50-50 split, and Democrats have the slight majority with the vice president casting the deciding vote, blah, blah, blah. So they've been arguing over this, and look, they're saying Mitch McConnell backs off Senate filibuster fight. He is backing off. And Chuck Schumer, by the way, has been basking in his victory. He's been like, yeah, Mitch McConnell's backing off. How about those apples? Well, let's read on. Wait a second. Here's the second paragraph. McConnell said late Monday he had essentially accomplished his goal after two Democratic senators said they would not agree to changing the rules to end the filibuster. Meaning the filibuster would probably stay, require a 60 vote threshold to advance most legislation. Without the support of all Democratic senators, a rules change would fail. So here's the headline. Well, McConnell backs off. What they don't include there, McConnell backs off because he got what he wanted already.
Yeah.
Isn't that brilliant? That would be like the equivalent of someone going up to like you or me and being like, give me your lunch money. And it's like, no, school bully, we're not going to give you our lunch money. And then they get our lunch money anyway. And then we go back over to our group of friends and go, yeah, the bully backed off.
No bruises on this face.
That's right. I won. Where's your lunch money? Let's not worry about those details. I gave you the headline. The bully backed off. That's the headline. We're leaving it there.
You know what's funny is as much as like liberals love NPR, they actually did like a pretty decent look into McConnell's life and like his history in virtually every level of public office, right? From like him running for like school president or whatever, all the way up to him becoming the Senate Majority Leader. And the whole running theme of it is he'll basically say and do anything as long as he gets to win and as long as he gets to have power. Like that was the whole, basically the end of the series.
That's so surprising. I can't believe that was the theme of all that. So
it's like when you see headlines like that, immediately my first thought was, wait a minute, what did he get in return for him to back off something like that? Because this dude has never, like, all he wants to do is win and have power. And right now he's not the majority leader. So, that's a major portion of power that he had to let go of. So what did he get? And here it is. He just, two Democrats folded.
I mean, that was such a bullshit headline, and he's not hiding anything. Check out what he tweeted. I'm glad that 2 Senate Democrats confirmed today that they will not vote to end the legislative filibuster. They agree with President Biden and me on protecting the Senate. This is Mitch McConnell saying this. With this win, we can move forward with the 50-50 power sharing agreement built on the 2001 precedent. And by the way, who are the 2 Senate members you ask? I bet this will come as a big surprise. Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin.
Of course.
I was waiting. Those are the 2. They're the ones that are like, yeah, we don't, we might actually have to govern if we don't have this. It's so funny because everyone's saying, well, now the Dems have the House and the Senate and the White House. They have no excuse, which, I mean, I was saying that too. But
yeah,
Mitch McConnell, Sinema, Manchin, hold our beers. Excuses are a-coming. And
well, now, I mean, that was, I was waiting for Joe Manchin. I was waiting for that name to get dropped because the day after the Georgia elections, he was the one that came out and was just like, I'm going to vote no on the $2,000 checks. I'm going to keep it at $600. I don't think this is a good idea, right? And you have people like Larry Summers, who was part of the Obama-Biden administration, that's like, oh, this will overheat the economy if we give, poor people more money to actually pay their bills and like have a decent life. Like it'll overheat the economy and it'll implode itself. Like
I love that guy. That was the new who was the guy that was saying that? He used the overheating term. He's someone who Biden appointed.
Larry Summers.
Yeah. And he was like, it might overheat. Did you watch that segment? He's in his house.
So crazy.
He had a really weird camera angle where he was in his house, and it actually, if you look closely, it looks like the walls in his house are trying to get away from him. Because they're like, this guy's full of shit. And even we know this. We're trying to get away from him. And he's just talking in circles about how giving people $2,000, which, by the way, we're not even for reoccurring payments at this point, which is what pretty much the rest of the industrialized world got. We're talking about a one-time FU payment. We had another one-time FU payment. How long ago was that at this point? Almost a year ago now. I mean, it's been almost a year, right, since that $1,200.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That came out in what, March or April?
I think it was. I think it was April. Like I think it started in March and then hit. And some people still haven't gotten it. By the way, there's still some people out there who have not gotten their first payment.
And then there's other people that, like myself, that was never eligible for it at all.
So you never got anything.
No. And I that was the same thing. I talked to a bunch of other comics and a bunch of other musicians, and they were like, yeah, I fall through every little loophole and every little gap. Same thing with sex workers. They also fall through every little crack and every little, but it's like this is what they do, is they go behind the scenes, and you have headlines like the AP, Mitch McConnell backs off, so the Democrats win. Look, they're fighting for the people, yay! But it's like, oh wait, no, he just got exactly what he wanted, and he gets to basically be, co-majority leader and do the same shit he's been doing for what, a decade now, which is withhold every piece of legislation that can actually change Americans' lives. Like, that's what he wants. That's what he wants to do, and they just handed it to him. Again, the Democrats play into exactly what the Republicans want, and we have again, it's like a bunch of liberals that come after progressives about, oh, you can't challenge Joe Biden. It's only been 6 days. It's only been a week. It's only been whatever. And it's like, okay, when is it going to be not only something? And also, this dude's been in politics for 40 some odd years. And he's been in the White House before, so he knows how this shit works. He's just, he's just playing a game at this point.
Oh, it is totally a game for him, and he's willing to play hardball, and the Democrats aren't. And this is by design. And you know what, man? Another piece to this is, the what's a good word for it? Like just the toxicity of the whole blue no matter who. And we cannot have any primary opponents because let's connect a couple dots here. And, you live in Pennsylvania, so, you were closer to all this action. And I was, paying attention to it as well. And it was so frustrating to me. Do you remember when Paula Jean Swearengin was a primary opponent against Joe Manchin, going up against him? And so many people, especially in the state of West Virginia, so-called progressives there, they were silent. They didn't say a word. And then when it was the general and Joe Manchin was the shitty Democratic option, they were yelling at the rafters. I know Joe Manchin's terrible, but you got to vote for him. Joe Manchin's terrible, but you got to vote for him. And it's like, well, where were you guys when he had a not terrible opponent?
Right.
Where were you guys then? Where were you guys? You'll wag your finger to vote for parasites like Joe Manchin, but you can't bother to look into a challenger, or you don't want a challenger. And furthermore, Amy McGrath was running against it was Booker, right? That was
Charles. Yep,
Charles Booker, who was a viable opponent. They blatantly suppressed the vote. Yep. I mean, they blatantly, methodically suppressed the vote to make sure he didn't win. I mean, and there was footage of people in city centers, in Louisville, in places where they're more likely to vote for him than the Trump-supporting Democrat, which is what Amy McGrath was. People were banging on doors to let them go vote. You can see that. They suppressed the vote as much as they could to make sure he didn't win, and he didn't. Who won instead? A pro-Trump Democrat. And who got shredded? The
pro-Trump Democrat.
She handed Mitch McConnell his talking points. Mitch McConnell, who is, evil beyond comprehension. And Mitch McConnell's able to just go, look, she has nothing other than I've been here too long. That's all. She has no plan.
That was her whole platform.
She has no platform. Yeah. I've been here too long. That's all she's got. And it didn't work. And Mitch McConnell won again. And
and then there was this whole I don't know if you saw this, but there was a whole feud between Booker and the McGrath camp. Based on payments and stuff, like how they paid their people, and that was the thing, is like, I love that the Democrats took a page out of the Republican playbook and shut down polls early in communities of color who were going to vote for Charles Booker because he actually represented them, not just by the way that he looked and the fact that he was from their communities, but he actually wanted to uplift the working class people, and so they actually wanted to vote for him. And when they showed up, polls are closed, you're all banging on it. And it's like, she took a page out of the Republican playbook. Again, it's like they're all working. Yeah, at this point, it's becoming, I don't know, like, what kind of mental gymnastics you need to do to kind of not see that these two parties are not all that different. And they work together, to prop up big business, to prop up billionaires, and to completely wreck the American working class. Like, it's becoming harder and harder to make these sort of justifications, right? Like, we just handed Chuck Schumer an excuse to basically not get things done. Yeah. Because, like, oh, the Republicans are gonna, like, we'll hear the same thing we heard all of last year.
We couldn't end the filibuster. Now there's the now what's the one thing that Bernie Sanders brought up? The what's the word for reconciliation? Or no, wait, what's it? I'm forgetting the word. I got to look it up now. But it's the play that Bernie Sanders brought up, where geez, I'm having like one of those. Having a brain
Like
fart for the word. It's like it starts with an R. Here, let me just Google it. Bernie Sanders to here. Let me just see if this. People probably going nuts in the chat saying the word. Like, Ron.
We know what it is.
Yeah, I don't. Reconciliation. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Reconciliation. So Bernie brought up that budget reconciliation to like get stuff through. But are they going to listen to Bernie, or are they just going to like hide behind this excuse? They're probably going to hide behind this excuse. Do you think McConnell's going to get? Do you think McConnell's just kind of going to get what he wants here?
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Like that's what's exactly what's going to happen. Like they don't want to do, if they actually have to like. That's the thing is people that bring up like, oh, you want government-controlled healthcare and government-controlled recurring payments to cover basic needs. Like, do you really want the government to be in charge of all this stuff? And it's like, yeah, because it'll force the government to actually work for the people. Like, if the government-controlled healthcare sucks, that means that they don't get elected to be in their position of power and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. So now they have to make it good, or else like the people are going to get pissed that they're being taxed and getting this healthcare, and it still sucks, and they still have to go to the hospitals and get a bunch of medical debt, right? Like, it forces the government to actually do their jobs and be a force of good for the people and actually legislate on behalf of the working class who gets them elected, which is how a democracy is supposed to work, right? So it kind of starts shifting it, and it's another one of those things that I think has like intersectional consequences, right? Like if it becomes universal healthcare, well, what about making water a public utility, and what about making food? Like we just start spiraling down and start asking more questions, and that's what they don't want. So they'll do these weird little schemy things to make sure that they keep everything as is, and they constantly tell people that are asking for like things like Medicare for all, oh, it's not the time. This is not the time to fight for that. We just got these concessions. Let's, and it's like, but it's been the time since fucking JFK talked about it.
Right.
Yeah. Like how much longer do we need to wait? So yeah, I think McConnell's absolutely going to get everything that he wants.
I think so
the Biden
too.
Administration.
Do you think, and this is just sort of like a like a way the world ought to be type wish here, do you think we should just get rid of the Senate?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like one way or the other, like having these two houses where I understand the concept, right? Like one house is more for the people, and then you have like the upper house that does more business dealings or whatever it is. Like you're supposed to have a house that represents specifically for the people. Like in India, it's the House of Commons, right? It's basically what it translates to. But then you have the bigger house, which is kind of like the Senate, where there's less people making these legislative decisions. But it seems like, I don't know, the last maybe 15 years, everything just gets hung up in one of these places. Either the House can't get it through or the Senate won't get it through. And then we just get stuck. So a bunch of these bills that need to get passed to actually help people are caught in like this, it's like spinning their wheels. Like that's all they keep doing. And that sort of becomes the point of it. So yeah, I mean, do we really need 500 some odd representatives when, they're not really doing any good, and it's just the same playbook over and over again? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if we got rid of the Senate, then it would all come down to the House.
Right.
And
well, I mean,
simplify the process.
Yeah, I think we need to get rid of both, actually. Like I'm at the point now where I'm just like, we need to just get rid of both and just straight up have a people's legislature.
Yeah.
And I know that's a tall order, and I know a lot of people are saying, Ron, there would still be a lot of problems with that, which there would be. I mean, you would basically have, because, I mean, we would need some protections as far as like corporations just, brainwashing people into voting against their own interests with $1 million campaigns for whatever policy they want passed. We would have that problem. But I don't think it could possibly be any worse than what we have now. I really don't, because you're just cutting out Wall Street's middleman. You're just cutting out Wall Street's middleman. So, yeah, I mean, there would still be a lot of bad shit in this country. We would still have a lot of the plutocracy issues we have now, and we would still be fighting against that. But we would at least be, amidst our fellow citizenry instead of just these Wall Street shields. At least it would just be us versus Wall Street battling ideas instead of our government sugarcoating what's really going on in this country.
Isn't that like Mike Gravel's proposed that?
Yeah.
Right. That it should be 500 words and easy to read, and the people should vote on these legislations.
Yeah. Well, and his book lays it out. I mean, his book lays it out like how we actually have the power to do that in the Declaration of Independence. And, because I have a theory, and I mean, you can't really prove or disprove this, but I stand by this theory, Krish. I think what happened was the Declaration of Independence was written at a big ass party. They were all partying. They were like, yeah, we're our own country now. Awesome. They were passing it around. They're like, Declaration of Independence. And they were like, hey, John, you going to sign this thing? And John was like, yeah, I'm going to sign this thing. And I'm going to sign it all big because the word cock is in my name. And he signed it. And everyone's excited. And then they woke up the next morning. They looked over the Declaration of Independence. Everyone's sober now. And they're like, I don't know about all this. Some of us have like land and slaves and shit. So they wrote the Constitution. That's what I think happened. That's what I think happened.
The Declaration was just a drunk fantasy, and the Constitution was like, we got to rein this in.
We got to rein this in a little bit. We got to rein this in. It's we can't give too much here. Let's some of this stuff, but it's like, no, we actually do have the ability to have a people's legislature. And I think at this point, we have this. If the government was more than a corporate coup, I would feel differently. But right now, like they are really straight up demonstrating they are a corporate coup. And it's like,
And I mean, there was no other blatant example of the fact that the government became a corporate coup, back in 2017 when Trump was in office, and everybody that was part of his cabinet was connected to some corporation, right? It was like, was it Rex Tillerson was the CEO of Exxon? It's like, why is he in the cabinet? What's happening here? And they had Steve Bannon that was connected to a bunch of like Republican think tanks and stuff. And then when that failed, it became a military coup and a bunch of generals, and then you had Mike Pompeo becoming the Secretary of State. It's like, how much more blatant do you need that to be? Whereas now under the Biden administration, we kind of see the same thing, right? You have people like Neera Tanden, who was part of what is that? The Center of American Progress.
Center of American Progress. Very ironically named.
Very ironically named, where their healthcare thing is Medicare choice. You have a choice for whether you want Medicare or not. And it's like, okay, that's not really Medicare for all. And then
that's
you have
not how it works.
That's not how it works.
A universal system needs everybody in it. That's how it works. You need everyone in it. You need sick people. You need healthy people. You need everybody. So and they're hiding behind this choice. It's like, what choice are you really giving people? People don't love their healthcare plan. They love the security that they may have in their doctors. Yeah. And they're being fed this idea that Medicare, or this lie, it's not an idea, it's a lie. They're being fed this lie that Medicare for all takes that away. It doesn't. Yeah, and it's cheaper than what we're doing now, and it's more efficient, and everyone has healthcare. It's a no-brainer. That's why pretty much the rest of the industrialized world has figured this out decades ago. The only place that does, the for-profit model kind of like us is Switzerland, but they, first of all, have a lot more regulation we don't have. Right. They have a lot more consumer protections that we don't have. And also, their costs are kind of comparable because of that. They're still less, but their costs are a little bit higher than they should be because they follow our shitty model.
Right.
But they're
Right,
still better than us because they actually have some real protections for people.
But that's
everyone else does it a straight up universal system. Everyone else, every other industrialized nation, and they all have better results than we do.
And then you have that's the thing is like that's why it's like why is Neera Tanden controlling the budgets, right? And then crap, I can't remember his name, but he's on the board of Raytheon, and he's like part of the Department of Defense. Why is someone that's on the board of a war profiteering corporation on the cabinet, right? And then you have Janet Yellen, who was the chairman of the Fed. Why is someone that controlled the Federal Reserve, which is a corporation that controls our money? Why is she a part of the Treasury? It's becoming very like to me it's becoming very blatantly evident that there is undoubtedly a corporate coup within our government structure, just based on Biden's picks for a bunch of these cabinet
You mean
picks.
you're not inspired with like a who's who of like warmongers and like Reaganites basically?
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm supposed to be excited that Pete Buttigieg from McKinsey is controlling our transportation. Like,
well, hey, come on, Krish. If there's anywhere that is killing it with public transportation, it's small towns in Indiana. His experience has really qualified him for that job.
He's like, I'm kind of close to Chicago. They have a somewhat decent public
transportation. They got trains like 4 hours away.
Yeah, I've heard about it. Pretty good qualification.
And by the way, I went to college in Indiana. I went to Indiana University in Bloomington. For anyone watching / listening, it's a wonderful town. I love it very much.
I love Bloomington.
But Bloomington's great. But when it comes to public transportation, it ain't knocking it out of the park. At least not when I was there. Maybe that has changed. It is a college town. But
I'm from Pittsburgh, and our public transportation isn't all that great either, right?
Yes, it's not very good.
Like a decade ago.
Have you ever met someone that thought it was?
No.
Oh, dude, I have.
The thing. I've never met. Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, I met this guy, and he was like, yeah, man, the buses here are great. I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm like, really? And it turns out he was from like some small town in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
I don't know if it was Altoona or where it was. I mean, this conversation happened like a decade ago. But he was telling me, he's like, well, compared to, and I'm like, yeah, compared to your town with nothing, I guess it's better than that.
Right. I mean, I was excited when I moved to DC. I was like really excited about the metro when I first moved there. I was like, this is so great. Underground trains. Who would have thought about it? And then like 2 or 3 months later, I'm like, this thing constantly catches on fire. This doesn't seem. This is like the opposite of what public transportation should be doing.
What's been your best, if you had to give a gold star in the United States out of everywhere you've been? Where would your gold star go? As far as
Chicago.
Like, man, Chicago? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I've spent usually if I'm going to Chicago, I spend a couple days in Chicago and do a whole bunch of shows because there's just so much to do. And I would usually stay with my buddy, and he has a garage that he would let me park my car in, and I would get a Venture Pass, and I would be able to hop from mic to mic to mic, and they run late. So even if a mic ends at like 12:30, I know I can still catch a bus or a train and get back to where I'm getting where I need to go without any issues. And there's always I think there's only been once or twice that I've been in at a bus stop like completely by myself with nobody around me, which is a little creepy in a city like Chicago. But usually there's like 1 or 2 people, hanging out at the bus stops, and it's there. And from what I've experienced, and I might be wrong, is if you live in Chicago and you're just like, what's this guy talking about? But my experience in Chicago was like, it's miles ahead of what Pittsburgh has, and it's miles ahead of what DC has too. And DC, again, it's better than Pittsburgh, but it's still like, look, if your trains are catching on fire every week, I feel like that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, if I give the gold star, and I feel like it's like obviously I'm not qualified. I mean, this is just based on my experience,
right, exactly.
And I understand like there's certain factors involved, like the size of a place. So I'm going to have Boston, but again, Boston's not necessarily that huge. So maybe that's part of it. But in my experience, Boston, like the trains have always exactly when they say they're going to be there, they show up. Like they are so, and then you just get that, like you just plug it into your Google Maps and it tells you take this, take this, take this, take this, and you're going to be there. And usually it's like 1 or 2 trains to anywhere you'd want to go. And yeah, like Boston is just crazy efficient in my experience. New York's pretty good too. You know, and London was pretty good when I was there, but Boston was like, I think it's because they take their sports teams really seriously, so they get that competitive attitude, and they just they want to make sure that you get there. They're like, we'll go to Doyle's, and then you just get there on time.
Yeah, they're like, you guys might have the Steelers, but we got the best trains here.
Well, they got the Patriots, so they're doing.
They do have the Patriots. I know
they're doing okay. They win a few games, although I guess. I haven't really followed it this year, but I guess Tom Brady's in another Super Bowl.
Oh, is he? Yeah, I saw somebody.
All right, we should probably stop. We should probably stop.
I got nothing on that one.
Clearly, neither of us followed the NFL this year, and we're trying to talk about it, and we're not even positive. I'm pretty sure Tom Brady going to the Super Bowl. I saw people complaining about it. He's not with the Patriots anymore. He's with, I think, Tampa Bay. And
oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, I haven't followed it much this year. I just, I mean, as the years gone by, I've become more of a hockey guy. And you know, I like the Pens and I have an NHL membership. So that's just what I follow. You know, I mean, I don't, but my wife is from Massachusetts. So she's a Bruins fan, and she played hockey when she was in high school. And the Pens are going to be taking on the Bruins this week. I think tonight. And Thursday, it's Pens Boston, so we'll probably watch those games together. She doesn't enjoy watching it as much as I do. I mean, she played it, but she's not super huge on watching it. She's kind of indifferent. But usually, if like Pittsburgh and Boston's playing, she'll we'll check it out. And we'll she doesn't like friendly trash talking though. Like she's just not into it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not into it really either, but it's like, you know, it can be kind of fun and just play
every so often. Yeah.
So I'll be like, you know, I'll make a goofy like comment, you know, just in fun and in jest. And she'll just be like, well, okay, I hadn't considered that.
Doesn't that just shatter like you're just like, what?
Well,
I'm trying to have fun.
Exactly. But the fact that is fun to me kind of speaks to my I don't know what the right way. Maybe I guess what I'm getting at here is like it's just another reminder that my wife is a way more intelligent person than I am, which she is. My wife's smarter than me. I don't have a problem with that. Like like she's way smarter than I am. And that's just another reminder of that. Cause like to her, she's just like, shut the fuck up, dude. Watch the game. And I'm just like, oh, I want to do some quirky, goofy thing. Because deep down, I still just want to be 20 dicking around at a sports bar for 6 hours for no reason. Cause I did that and enjoyed it. And now I want to just kind of relive that sipping on this whiskey, although it's just, you know, me, you and the cat on the couch. And we haven't really been anywhere in 9 months, and you're just like, oh, okay, dude, and you know that's okay.
You don't have that little like the ribbing that you get from a weird stranger at a bar.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. You know, and all right. Well, so anyway, go Pens. But let's move on. So I have some stories in the digital rights vein and pertaining to net neutrality and what's going on at the FCC, because we are going to see some transitions in the FCC. These could be some good things. First of all, there was a very, very beautiful moment, and a lot of people were retweeting this beauty. I retweeted it myself, and it was the beauty that happened when Ajit Pai's Twitter account no longer was in existence because he deleted it. He is just the FCC. He is no longer FCC chair. He stepped down. Ajit Pai was, for anyone not in the know, Ajit Pai was appointed actually by Barack Obama. Barack Obama brought him into the fold in the first place, and then Trump appointed him FCC head. During his tenure as FCC head, they repealed net neutrality, which we have been fighting tooth and nail since, and hopefully we're going to win that one. But they have repealed net neutrality, and everything he's done was basically a disaster. Here's a summary of one of those things. Free Press tweeted this out and wrote this summary that we're going to check out. They say Ajit Pai is gone, but his terrible decisions at the FCC are still making waves. The latest, Pai's efforts to support rural broadband have put rural town Plainfield, Massachusetts fiber network at risk. So basically, we're going to look into like the nitty gritty of this from Free Press. My understanding of a lot of this was, they invested in this so-called rural broadband, but what it really was just a giveaway to a bunch of these cable companies, and there was a bunch of red tape, so it didn't actually help consumers. But here's the details on this. Plan fail: how Pai imperiled a rural town's fiber network. This is from our friends over at Free Press. So this is part 5 in an ongoing series. Now, the previous post, they laid it out where fiber to the clubhouse, Pai subsidizes broadband for the rich. Broadband boondoggle, Ajit Pai's $886 million gift to Elon Musk, because he's in need. SpaceX broadband coming to an empty traffic island near you, and Ajit Pai's broadband legacy, haste and waste. So this guy had a long history it was 4 years, but he basically throughout his tenure just had all these misleading
disasters,
directives saying, oh, this is helping rural broadband, this is helping close the digital divide. In reality, it was just a giveaway to the rich. All right, so Free Press co-founder and COO Kimberly Longley is someone you want to have on your side. She helped build our organization, this is Free Press saying this, from an idea on paper to the force it is today. And that's just her day job. In her spare time, she organized a municipal project to bring fiber internet to her town of Plainfield, Massachusetts. So she's fighting for actual fiber internet. I wouldn't mind getting her on the show, because that's what I'm trying to do in my town, is get actual municipal internet. And it's been an uphill battle, as you know, Krish. Mm-hmm. So turning a wish and a need into a reality required a substantial amount of work beyond the endless hours spent in meetings. Building a fiber network requires accurate knowledge of where all the potential customer locations are and getting enough of those people to sign up. Meaning, if you want a municipal broadband project to work, you need people who want that in their homes, who want to sign up, who want to become customers and get their internet from the city. Longley and a team of local volunteers literally drove all of the roads and back roads in her town to map the area and understand the potential customer base, a necessary step that many winners of subsidies from the FCC's world, blah, 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 blah. All right, so they built the infrastructure, they got the broadband. On February 13th, 2020, the FCC granted final approval to Westville G&E to receive subsidies from the Connect America Fund, which it had won in a reverse auction that commenced in July of 2018. Of the $10.3 million awarded to Westville G&E, Plainfield Broadband will receive subsidies totaling $430,686 over a 10-year period. But less than a year after the FCC approved the $10.3 million to CAF, to help pay for the costs of Plainfield Broadband, the agency awarded $9.4 million of RDOF subsidies to Charter to overbuild these taxpayer-funded networks. So in other words, they had this approval, the FCC approved this money that was going to help Plainfield Broadband, but what they also ended up doing was they gave all this money to Charter, to big cable, to crush the city network. You see what they did there? They gave $9.4 million to crush the city network, which they knew would then make internet costs higher for all the residents of that place. So they crushed the city network under the guise of helping them, and instead gave all this money to big cable. So that's what happened here. So,
which is something that they've done that kind of stuff for years. Like I remember reading when small towns try to get fiber and they want to run it through, cable companies can just buy a square mile of land, and like some of these smaller internet companies don't have the money to dig and go around. Like that's way more money and way more cable to put down, and that's just a way that that's a legal way for some of these bigger cable companies to just block things like fiber. And and it's complete, and people are just like, yeah, it's competitive. They're competing. It's
Yeah, it's the opposite. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
Here, I want to read the last paragraph here. Wait, where did I? So why is the FCC subsidizing Charter? This is from the article, to overbuild in Plainfield and other rural Massachusetts towns. As we show below, it's because of former FCC chairman Ajit Pai's mismanagement. Pai never missed a chance to pat himself on the back for things he didn't actually accomplish, and he failed to get the details right in this essential FCC program. Now, one small thing I would say, I don't think it's that he failed. I think it's a little more deceptive than that. I think he knew what he was doing. And he wanted to help big cable and screw over the city in the process, and he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think a guy like Ajit Pai would do something haphazardly. I think he has a plan and how he wants to go about doing things. Like I think he had a plan to get rid of net neutrality.
Absolutely. He said it was his first priority when he got the gig.
Yeah, and none of the stuff that he does is by accident. Like he's such a weird megalomaniacal like sociopath that comes off as this goofy like, oh, aren't I just a little crazy? Like I got a big oversized mug and I do videos on the internet, aren't I? Like, and
those
then
videos were so cringe though.
They're awful.
Those videos where he was like, what can you do without net neutrality? Everything you used to do. And then he's just doing these goofy things. It's like, what?
But all of it is just shopping for shit.
Yeah, like that's all he does.
It's 2.5 minutes of like, you can still buy Star Wars toys. And it's like, please don't ruin Star Wars more than it already has. Like, come on.
And then there were those goofy outtakes where it's like him, like just standing. And then he was so condescending in some of his things. He's like, I'm so tired of it. It's going to be fine. It's like, well, then why are you, if it's not going to change anything, why are you repealing it? What's the problem? Obviously, these big cable companies want to do something. Obviously, they want to roll out anti-net neutrality packages. It's like saying, hey, nobody's going to murder anybody, so we're just going to do away with laws against murder. We're just going to do away with those laws because would you murder somebody? I wouldn't. So why do we need these laws? Like, obviously, people saying something like that probably have some not so great plans. Yeah. Like, oh, we don't need these laws protecting a free and open internet. We don't need these laws saying you can't discriminate on content and stuff. So let's just do away with them. Why would the big cable companies mess with that? Gee, I don't know. Why did they take it to court to not have to follow it in the first place? Because there's no money to be made for them to screw people over. I mean, it's so
and he stood by Section 230. It was like, yay. This is a good thing. Like
repealing it. Yeah. I mean, well, so we're going to go there next. So here's what's going on at the FCC now. Here's kind of where we're at. Biden appointed as far as I know, it's a temporary, like the acting chair. I don't know if he's going to make her the permanent chair. If he has, I have not seen that yet. I have only seen and I looked. So if it's out there, I've missed it, and I have looked for it, but did not find it. But as of the recording of this, to my knowledge, she is the acting chair. I do not have any information that he's making her the permanent chair. But it's Jessica Rosenworcel. And she has a pretty good track record. So here's an article from Popular Science. The FCC is about to undergo a huge shift that could drastically affect the internet. And they kind of break down what's going on. So Ajit Pai stepped down. Yeah. Now, here's what's going on. So the acting chair is Jessica Rosenworcel, which is, say that name 5 times fast, bet you can. But she is a net neutrality advocate. She has, fought to close the digital divide. She has a pretty good track record as far as an FCC appointee. I don't know every single thing about her. I don't know much about her personal politics. You don't really need to. As far as an FCC appointee goes, are they going to vote the right way when it comes to digital rights issues? And if they are, cool. Right. And she has a pretty good record of doing that. So he stepped down, Ajit Pai being the he. So he stepped down, and now she's the acting chair. Now, here's where the FCC's at, though. It's not like, oh, she's the acting chair, so that's good because she's for net neutrality and all these other issues, and he was on the wrong side. She's not. I mean, it is good that she's the acting chair, but here's the deal. The FCC right now is at a 2-2 split because there was that Trump guy that stepped down because he was like, hey, I'm crazy, but not this crazy. And he stepped down. So Trump was like, well, here's this Symington guy. He's willing to go along with all my crazy ideas. By the way, I don't know how technology works. And Symington was like, I don't either. I'm totally unqualified for this job. Appoint me. And everyone said,
it worked for the post office, right? Louis DeJoy had nothing to do with the post office, and he was like, "This guy, he's the postmaster general."
Well, that's one of many examples. I mean, what does Betsy DeVos know about education?
Right, exactly.
And it's not just Trump that does this or Republicans. Democrats do it too.
Yeah,
they actually appoint people who are the opposite of what they're supposed to. Oh, let's appoint someone to labor who is anti-union. Let's So this guy gets appointed. So now the FC is at a 2-2 deadlock, meaning that there's two Republicans, two Democrats, two who would vote against net neutrality, two who would vote for it. And Biden is going to appoint a fifth member. And I don't know if that fifth member he will appoint chair or if he'll keep Jessica Rosen as the chair and then just appoint a fifth member. It's not clear as of right now, but he needs to appoint somebody else because they're at a 2-2 deadlock. So what does this mean for these different issues? So first, net neutrality. They repealed net neutrality in 2017. Now, some groups, this is according to the article, some groups believe that the upcoming net neutrality actions could go beyond reinstating the Obama-era rules. It could mean an end to practices like zero rating, which allows providers to exclude their own services or those from companies that pay them a fee from data caps. In other words, hey, if you use this video streaming service we have, it won't go against your data cap, but these other video services, they would. So they're going to try to push these other video services out of existence. Then they have a monopoly. Then they can prioritize content or try to get away with it, which is anti-net neutrality. You see how that works. Ending practices like zero rating would put an end to that. And where did that spark up first? No pun intended with spark there. It sparked up first in our California net neutrality bill. In California's net neutrality bill, it includes an end to zero rating, which means that those net neutrality protections go even further than what we got during the Obama era. So that's what's going on there. Now, the digital divide. But of course, we don't get this until we have that fifth appointee who would vote for net neutrality. Digital divide. The FCC has long stated its goal to bring broadband access to everyone in this country. The Democratic and Republican sides typically have very different takes, different ideas on how to accomplish this task. Now, they did $3.2 billion into broadband development. But again, you see how when you have someone like Ajit Pai calling the shots, this ends up just being a scam. And sometimes the promises of rural broadband are, to some extent, scams themselves. I mean, sometimes it does help get people connected to the internet who weren't otherwise, which, of course, that's a good thing. But here's what they also do. A lot of times when you see people in government say they're for rural broadband, but they're not for, say, high-speed internet for all or municipal broadband everywhere in the country, what they're really saying is, we're okay with building internet infrastructure in the places where the cable companies don't give a shit. Because what the cable companies do, they have an organized duopoly where they don't infringe on each other's territories, and they price gouge consumers. That's why we get shittier internet at a shittier price than a lot of other countries. So if it's a place where cable companies feel like there's not enough people here where we can make the type of money we want to make, they don't go there. So they don't give a shit what happens there. So what you'll see the government do at times is they'll go, here's a ton of money, way more than you need, to build here, and you can go build here and then do whatever you want. So you see stuff like that happening. But if you have an FCC that's actually committed to real broadband investment, that could be a good thing. And, again, Jessica Rosenworcel has a much better track record than Ajit Pai. Much better. There's no comparison. Now they're saying that there could be less commercial consolidation, and they bring up Section 230. That's the other one we'll go to here, and regulating big tech. So in May of 2020, here's the summary they give. A Trump executive order dragged the FCC into a nationwide debate regarding Section 230, which protects websites and platforms from legal action based on content stemming from their users. It's what prevents people from suing Facebook when others tweet something horrible about them. The executive order, so here's what was in Trump's executive order. The executive order asked the FCC to clarify the kinds of content that platforms can moderate. So basically, you have these social media platforms abusing their powers by acting like publishers, basically. Trump's executive order was like, well, let's just transfer that power over to the FCC. So basically, government bureaucrats can just decide whatever they want based on who's in power. And then we're just going to strip this Section 230, which applies to everybody on the internet, not just social media platforms. It also applies to user comments on like a news article. So repealing Section 230 is not a good idea. And we have talked about this tirelessly on the show about why that is. It's basically like saying, hey, there's a rotten tree in this forest. Let's just burn down the entire forest.
Right. Yeah.
Or it's like you come to the hospital with a broken arm, they set you on fire. It's just one of the, well, technically you don't have a broken arm anymore. But, so here's the thing. Now, near the end of his tenure, Pai said he wasn't going forward with any efforts to impose rules that could change the overall efficacy of Section 230. Now, with Trump out of office, it seems extremely unlikely that the FCC will have much, if anything, to do with Section 230 conversations going forward. Berth, Rosenworcel, and Starks have said publicly that the FCC shouldn't have anything connected to 230, even if talk of repealing it comes up again in the future. So I think overall that's a good thing that they're just saying, like, we shouldn't be doing this. This is not a proper ask from Trump. He's demonstrating he doesn't really understand what exactly Section 230 is, which I think so many of them have. I mean, when you hear, it's so funny. There was this time where Ted Cruz was talking about Section 230, and he was like grandstanding. He was like, this is about blah, blah, blah. And then a couple paragraphs under, they explained why Ted Cruz just doesn't understand what he's talking about. They're like he just doesn't. That's not what it does. People think that Section 230 is just shield for social media companies. That's not exactly what it is. I mean, that's like saying, well, free speech laws are just shields for views that you don't like or something like that. Well, no, free speech laws are free speech laws that apply to everybody. So, when we have issues, we don't end free speech laws. What we do instead is we have additional policy. Like there's certain types of speech that aren't protected. You can't defame somebody without potential consequence. You can't incite violence. There are specific things that are not protected speech. That's the same thing that should happen here. You shouldn't repeal Section 230, which basically assures free speech on the internet and allows people to put stuff on the internet. You shouldn't repeal that. Instead, what you should do is you should have new policy that meets the moment and says, look, when you're a huge social media platform, you either A, have to follow the free speech of the United States, or better yet, we make these things public utilities.
Would changing something like that to a public utility, I don't know how that would affect it on a global scale, but it would regulate them a lot more. They wouldn't be able to regulate free speech themselves, which is what they've been doing. But that's the thing is, so if the FCC isn't gonna be in charge of Section 230, does that mean that Congress is going to be in charge of? Like, will they be able to bring this back up? Like, if Ted Cruz is like, we should repeat, like, would they be able to try to write a letter? Which again would be like, what do these dinosaurs really know about?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, there's already been like alternative bills and propositions out there, and none of them. I mean, I haven't seen anything that I really feel meets the moment, but yeah, I mean, it could just be an alternative policy proposal or something like that. But I mean, right now, I'm hoping they just leave it alone.
Yeah, just leave it alone.
Leave Section 230 alone, and instead focus on new types of policy that we need to meet this moment. I mean, look, and again, this is another theme that I say on the show all the time. We are in a moment where technology has passed up where our laws are at. We don't have laws to meet this moment. And it's time to explore what those new types of policies should be for the benefit of internet users and creators and everyone in between. So,
we needed that when everything with Cambridge Analytica was revealed. That should have been the moment where we were like, oh shit, technology has surpassed our we need to figure out how to adapt our laws to meet with technological advances, because they basically proved that an American billionaire paid a company in the UK to use psychographics to try to manipulate people to vote for Trump. And that was like far more nefarious than, the Russiagate conspiracies that were pushed for 4 years. And that story got swept under the rug, right? There were people like us were talking about it, but you didn't hear Rachel Maddow say anything about it. You didn't hear anything from corporate media because they don't give a shit, and they would rather peddle like some conspiracy theory. I think at that point, once you figured out that Facebook willingly let Cambridge Analytica do this sort of stuff, you should have figured out a way to regulate these big tech giants, and you wouldn't have seen all of the demonetization and the control of free speech on the internet. Like 2 years ago, there were like 800 independent media organizations that just were blinked out on Facebook and Twitter. Like that wouldn't have happened if they legislated to regulate these companies. Like they just give you a vague.
That's the thing. They have entirely too much power, and that's something that people across political ideologies all agree on. It's like, they have entirely too much power, and people are trying to come up with the answer of how to rein that in. And what's also very frustrating is that these platforms could be doing more on their own. Mm-hmm. There's nothing stopping them because, terms of service and conditions are apparently, gospel, right now. Like Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg, their terms of condition, that is the ultimate, like, that's what you got to follow. So there's actually nothing stopping these companies from being like, okay, we're just going to follow the free speech laws of the United States, and we're going to appoint these people to make sure that happens. These are, they could appoint lawyers and constitutional scholars and professionals to be like, okay, if you violate the free speech laws of the United States on our platform, that is the only way you could ever get banned or deplatformed, and you will get a proper explanation as to what you did. And you can fight it in court should you choose to. But we have professionals that specialize in free speech laws. They're going to be able to bring up the receipts saying what it is you are allegedly guilty of. They could do that. They're not going to, but they could. I mean, there's nothing to stop them from doing that. And with the repeal of Section 230, there would be nothing to stopping them from just censoring everything. I mean, that's the thing a lot of people miss when they say that they're for the repeal of Section 230. No, repealing Section 230 would lead to more censorship, not less. They would be censoring a lot more, because now they're just not going to want to have to worry about a lawsuit. So just anything, I mean, they could change their terms of service to be like, oh, any political content, we just don't want it. We're just going to flag it all, unless it comes from one of the cable networks.
Right, exactly. I mean, so, they could, it just becomes like a handing them power on a silver tray. And we already saw, Twitter and Facebook abuse that power anyway when they took Trump off of it. And then it was like, you saw how it kind of worked its way down, where like Ron Paul was taken off of Facebook for no reason. They just said, hey, something you said violated a community standard. He's like, what did I say? And he got nothing, right? It was the same thing when my entire podcast got deleted by Spotify. They just gave me a vague copyright claim. And when I tried to figure out what that was, they just deleted everything. That's just sort of the way that they operate. And now you want to repeal something that's going to give them more power to just do that, but who's championing it are the people that just don't want to see differences of opinion, or rather, more or less, the people that don't know how to communicate with differences of opinion. Like if there's a progressive or a conservative that you disagree with, instead of having some civil discourse with them and asking questions and actually debating with them, they just don't want to see it. These are the people that like will pop up on Twitter. I get this like once a week where somebody will comment on Twitter and before I can see it, they will block me. So I have no idea what they say.
Yeah, they just block you. Or if you respond, they just block you right away.
They just block me right away too. Yeah.
Or it's like they just they just block you right away.
Yeah.
Mark Maron said something about trolls recently that I actually really, really liked. And I'm not saying anyone who disagrees with somebody is automatically a troll. I mean, some people, they actually are looking to have a discussion of ideas, and that's totally fine. But other people, they're just trolling, and Mark Maron said this thing on his podcast where he was just like, I think every troll is just secretly in love with you. And it was, I mean, he did a whole bit like, so I don't, but it was, I don't know, it was kind of funny. And you kind of just like I remember just kind of laughing and being like, yeah, I feel that like that's cool. But anyway, so let's, do you want to go to the super chat with me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's see what's up. What's up, Helena? How are you? Helena, you have a couple comments here and I appreciate it very much. Thank you for supporting the show. And you say, what is Biden's recovery plan in America? In the UK, it is being organized. Also, our vaccination program is going like horses at Royal Ascot. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, I think that's a good thing, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Is that a good thing? I feel really ignorant right now, but I don't know. I'm assuming that's good. Is Royal Ascot? I mean, I guess I'm assuming that's like a horse race or something. So the horses would go here. Let's look it up. I admittedly don't know what that is. Do you know what it is? Am I like?
I don't know either.
Right, so you don't know. All right. So
when I heard it, I was like,
so it is a horse race. It is a horse.
Is it okay? All right.
It's a Ascot race course. Is a purpose British race course, and it's get this, Krish. This might throw you for a loop. Guess where it's located?
Oh, is it London? No.
Ascot. It's located in Ascot, Berkshire, England, which is used for thoroughbred horse race. Okay, so I think that's a good thing. Like how we had to look that up. Like, I think that's good. I mean, I don't know, but like, what if Royal Ascot was like a really crowded highway or something? The horses like couldn't move there, and that's what she meant. She's like, no, like they're not moving, but it's not. It's where horses go to race.
Yeah, they're moving. They're moving a lot faster than we are.
This is Get Your News On with Ron. And to answer your question, Helena, what is Biden's recovery? Well, so I mean, he has that in like plan for what is it, 100 million vaccines in 100 days, or what was the number? Like he has a certain amount, a number within the first 100 days to get that many people vaccinated.
It is a kitschy number though.
Yeah, and
you can like hashtag it.
It's ambitious. I mean, I hope we get there.
Yeah.
The rest of his plans, I think, are very kind of vague. I mean, he's done some executive orders that, I mean, I think the overall theme is like, yeah, these aren't bad things, but it's not enough. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's great we're in the Paris Climate Accord again. That's great. It's not enough to meet the moment for climate change, but it's better than not being in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Same with that stuff. And then you know, so I guess the short answer, Helena, is he doesn't really have a plan, which makes him a lot like the last guy. That guy also didn't have a plan. And they really don't want to give the American people anything. They really don't want to do that, which, by the way, that's one of the things the federal government is for. A federal government, one of the reasons that they exist is so if there's a pandemic, they got your back. That's why you pay taxes every year. You pay taxes every year for a number of reasons, or so you're told. And one of those reasons is supposed to be, if there's a pandemic, they got you. But we forgot that here.
Yeah. Somehow we give trillions of dollars to the Fed. I don't know how that happened. That was it was an accident. Maybe they were all drunk the night before.
Helena, you also asked, Ron, would Americans be prepared to live in houses dated from 1850 if they could have health care? If it's a nice house, sure.
I've lived in super old houses.
Yeah, I mean, can you get really killer Wi-Fi? Like
That's
the big thing to me.
Yes.
I've been trying to get someone that talks about Earth ships on the show. I've been trying to do that, and I had this one guy who builds them, but he was, I guess he was a little uneasy going on show. You know what I mean? Like going on an interview. And I was like, dude, that's fine. If you want to do it, great. If you don't, that's fine too. I guess he's decided against it. So I'm still trying to get.
What is it? What is an Earth ship?
Oh,
I
dude,
think you mentioned
they're really
this
cool. So their house is built from like just completely sustainable materials, basically. Like they're basically like recycled houses, kind of. And they look really like they're cool looking. Like they're cool looking things. And you can build them fairly affordably compared to, what a house costs. But you also have to get the land for it. So it's kind of, it's not a thing that has caught on yet on a mass level, but I don't know, it'd be cool if it did, I think. I mean, I'm still learning about them. That's why I want to get someone on the show. I want to learn more about them. I want to learn more about the ins and outs and how they work. And of course, my big question, can I get really good Wi-Fi? So I guess the short answer, Helena, is yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd say yes. And Helena, your third comment here regarding what Magnus said about America fragmenting into 32 different tribes. Do you agree that water always finds its own level? I don't think I understand that question. I don't know what you're referring to specifically. I mean, I know that Magnus is the person who Jimmy Dore interviewed recently, and we watched a speech from him. I don't understand that question. Do you agree that water always finds its own level? I don't know what that means.
Is it like things will rise up to the occasion? Is that what you're referring to? I'm not sure either.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know. You need to clarify a little more.
Helena's making me definitely watch more British programming so I can understand a lot of the colloquialism. I'm not making fun of you. I'm pointing out my own ignorance on this. Maybe I haven't checked out that interview yet, but I'm to the 32 tribes thing. I guess it's fragmented that hard. Like, especially with the way that the left fragments, maybe it's that many people, but are you saying, are people going to kind of coalesce around one issue and rise up to the occasion? Like that's what's going to be the unifying factor. But that's always been the question, is what's the one thing that's going to bring all these people together? Like what's actually going to unify both populist sides? And I like that, and that's I have no idea. There were a couple points where I tried to guess that. Like Snowden was one of those things where I was like, well, people have to come together, but that got so polarized.
Yeah.
Same thing with Assange.
Even I was gonna say even Assange, and it's like I don't see how you can be undecided on that, or how you can be against it. I mean whether you like the guy or not, or whether you appreciate what WikiLeaks is, I don't know how you couldn't. I mean, they're just exposing stuff that powerful people don't want you to see,
right,
for the public good. I don't know how you could be against that. But if you are, for whatever reason, how can you not see like what they're doing to this guy? Like right. they're killing him, or they're trying to kill him. How do you for publishing, for being a publisher? Like, how do you not see? Anyway,
it becomes unfathomable at that point. But that's the thing, is those were the two big ones where I was like, oh, people have to come together and kind of bridge the divide. And we kind of saw a little bit in Congress, but I mean, it was like 2 Republicans to maybe 5 Democrats that were like, yeah, we got to free and pardon Assange. So even that, so at this point, it's like, I don't know. I have no idea what's going to be the one thing that's going to bring people together. Like,
Yeah. So Helena clarifies here. I am saying, do you think America will go back to what it was before with the tribes? Sorry for any confusion. I hope not. I mean, I'd like to think that as a society, we can kind of move forward to a better tomorrow. I mean, that being said, it's like the United States, I think, could easily be at least 4 different countries. I mean, I think, and that's, it's weird because in some ways, the fact that the United States is just such this big, it's such just a big, beautiful thing in many ways, because, and you and I have traveled across the country, so we see this, and that's something that I really do have a lot of affection for. I have a lot of affection for all the cities that we have in this country and all the different, you know, you go to New Orleans and it's a totally different vibe than if you go to Miami, and it's a totally different vibe than if you go to Detroit and Chicago. And I love all these places for different reasons. And, you know, there's a certain joy in that I really desperately want to not lose. Now, the flip side of that is because we're such a big freaking place, and there's just so much floating around that there's not really a lot of cohesion all the time, and there's of course some ideas out there that are absolutely despicable, and there's some, like, we're not really good at kind of behaving together as a unit to defeat something like a pandemic. You know, I mean, and a lot of that is failure in leadership. Most of it is, but some of it is also just, we're this big experiment where people are just like, they don't want to be told what to do no matter what. And they're just kind of gonna, so I'd like to think that we can still kind of come together societally to push for a better tomorrow. And I don't think that's impossible. I don't think that's, I think that can be achieved. Will it? I don't have a crystal ball. I certainly hope so. I don't know. What do you think, man?
Well, so yeah, I don't know. It's a big question, but I will say the reason why the country is as large as it is was by design. Madison kind of wrote about it after they wrote the Constitution and the Declaration. He basically wrote that this country needs to be huge, and the reason why he wanted it to be this huge is to prevent mass dissent. So no real movement can come together to overthrow the government. So that's why it was like, let's push westward, the Manifest Destiny and the Louisiana Purchase, and let's go to war with Mexico and take up all this land. It was necessary. And, you know, it's like, where did this expansion come from? It was under Jefferson and Madison, right? Like, those were the 2 big ones.
So you're saying it was like it was all by design, like they knew something like that would happen.
Yeah, they because Madison was still kind of paranoid. I think this is in People's History. There's a section where he kind of like articulates this idea, and Jefferson was the only one that was like, no, there needs to be dissent. We need to have, you know, new blood every 20 years. Every 20 years we need a revolution. And Madison was counter to that, where he was like, yeah, but not so big that we change the entire government structure. And a way that we can do that is by expanding the country so large that if there's a movement building in Boston, it doesn't pick up in, you know, in Dallas, Texas, because it's too far away. Well, now it doesn't matter because we have the internet, right? Like, look how big the force.
I mean, I never heard, you know, that's interesting, man. I got to look into that now, because that is fascinating.
I remember reading that, and I kept like rereading it, because I was just like, that's so crazy that this guy advocates for this, right? Like, it's just so wild. But he wrote it. He didn't write it in, like, I think it was like one of the later Federalist Papers that he wrote it in. I'll double check to see if I can find the quote and send it to you. But it's kind of by design, right? And I wrote a bit about this, but it's like, look at the way just in people talk, like how people talk in this country. Like you have the Pittsburgh accent versus something from Baltimore, and you have the Boston accent, and you know the Southern accent. Like it's so diverse, which is a positive thing. It's kind of awesome. And you know, like every time I would go on the road and I would tour like a specific region, I would come back and you know, like I would have like comics that I would meet at open mics be like, why are you speaking with a twang? Like, why are you talking all Southern? What's happening to you right now? You know, like you just kind of pick up this cultural vibe.
I twang when I lived in Nashville, I'm pretty sure. I feel like I had one. And you know what? I started saying y'all, and I still do. I think it's just a very convenient thing. I like saying y'all.
Once I started touring the South, I loved it.
It's a great word. I mean, I say it all the time, and I would say it, and they're like, "You're not from there," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you pick it up, and it's just convenient." I mean, I've never lost it, and I only lived in Nashville for like 2.5 years, so I wasn't there like terribly long, but and when I was there, I mean, I was on the road 45 weeks a year when I was there, so it's not like I was even there most of the time, but yeah, y'all's I never lost. I still say y'all. Sometimes in California people look at me when I say it, but I'm like, yeah, it's convenient. You should start saying it.
I get the same thing here, and I'm like, you guys say yins. What do you?
So you're a y'all guy, and you don't
y'all
do
guy.
the yins. See, I don't do the yins either.
I just it just never caught on.
I never picked it up because no one around me would use it when I was a kid. Yeah, you know, like my parents didn't say that. They still don't. I mean, they have Pittsburgh accents, but they don't say like yins, or they don't say a nat. They don't say any of that. So I never picked up any of that.
Yeah.
And I think I still have a little bit of a Pittsburgh tinge too. Like I'll hear it when I say certain words, like certain vowels. I'll like hear it come out, and it's still there. But
yeah.
So
I say stuff like nebby and slippy.
I don't think for me. I don't think it's words. It's like the way I'll say. So it's like an accent thing.
Oh, the accent, yeah.
Like when I say it, like especially like vowels. Like sometimes, like I will say, like sometimes if I will say like Don, you know, like it will come out like not that accented, but like it will subtly be there, and I'll hear it, or I'll be listening to like a podcast I was on or a video, and I was like, ooh, I hear a Pennsylvania accent there, big time. Like I don't like you don't realize it when it's happening, but it's especially if I'm like laughing or something, you know,
right.
You're talking fast, and maybe it comes out when I'm drunk. I don't know. But this one time my wife was she asked me because she wasn't real familiar with it. And she goes, well, so do like a Pittsburgh accent for me, like do the most embellished. So I started doing it for her. And it's funny, when I try to do it, I have a hard time doing it. And then just naturally but like I tried to do it and I did it. And she was just looking at me like, okay, that just sounds strange. Like that just sounds like some really thick, like, and it's not just Pittsburgh, the city. I mean, it's the whole kind of mid-Atlantic region, like Eastern Ohio. Some of those accents, like they're so, like they sound British almost, like they're so thick, like they actually sound like they're British kind of. And it's I mean I'm not like disparaging it. It's fine. It's just an interesting accent. Like
it's like the Cockney accent of America. You know, like it's like people like in the upper echelons are just like, oh, that's common speak. That's what the serfs speak, not in the House of the Lords, kind of way that they look at it. But I think there's like an Appalachian, like Rust Belt kind of accent, and I think this is probably the longest that I've like stayed consecutively in Pittsburgh since I started touring, and I will every so often, like, I don't know if my girlfriend picks it up when I say it, but there's like times when, you know, we're just watching something. She's like, oh, I'm going to go downstairs. And I was like, oh, you're going downstairs? And I say, and
I've never heard it from you.
And I catch myself a little. Yeah. If I'm not, if it's just like, I'm being too casual, I think it slips up. So like, I think when I'm drinking too, it happens. So like at the end of the night, if we're drinking or smoking, it's like, I'm a little bit more relaxed and loose, and it just slips out, you know? And then you catch yourself and you're like, down. down, like you over enunciate everything.
Down. Get your accents on with Ron and Krish. Yeah. Let's see. Ben, what's up, buddy? I hope you're well. Full stack. Oh, is that what is that? Full stack. Is that? Oh, I'm thinking Substack. Never mind. I thought this was about the website. All right. I'm missing some. I'm really missing like. I'm like, oh, is that a horse racetrack? That's really neat. Anyway, full stack development here. Making a website of public utility. You're saying that's not the best idea because of the responsibilities for each stack or layer. Look up the iOS model and AAS levels to understand the issues, please. Okay, Ben, I will. I'll look into that. I mean, look, I don't know. Admittedly, I can't speak to like the full details of making these social media companies public utilities. But the principle that I'm standing for here is they have too much power. I'm certainly not opposed to breaking them up. And if they were to be regulated like public utilities, you would have a better process go into place as to, when censorship were to happen. It would be transparent. It would be following the free speech laws of the United States. And I think that would be a much better structure than what we have now.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. I mean, this is one of those things where I think there's never been a problem like this before.
Right. Well, that's the thing. We're all trucking into uncharted territory.
Right.
This is new. Like we've not had, well, what did they do with the past internets? What did they used to do? We don't have that to go on. And this is still, I mean, I know sometimes it's hard to believe, but sometimes you do have to take a step backwards and realize in so many ways, the internet is still a very new thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is still very much evolving. That's the reality. And here's another reality. That's a very inconvenient truth, but a truth nonetheless. Just like any other medium, we can lose it. It's not impossible that this era of the internet will become a thing of the past and not for the better. We could lose it. We lost radio. We lost television. We lost the public airwaves. We could lose the internet bandwidth too. It's not an impossibility. That's why on this show, I really champion ideas like net neutrality. I really champion ideas like municipal broadband. I really champion ideas like organizing social media so that it is as transparent and favorable to free speech as possible. I favor those ideas because I realize that, I'm not a tech expert. I don't pretend to be, but I understand how policy can strip mediums away from people. I've studied it. It can happen. It can happen to the internet the same way it happened to television or radio. I know that it's a little bit different as far as how it's run, but the technology is still there to take it away. If it can be giveth, it can be taken away. So, that's why those are principles we talk a lot about here on the show. But, all right. Nizar, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. And Nizar, you also say, howdy from Texas, y'all. Howdy, Nizar. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. That's another thing I say. I say howdy. So that's another thing. Helena, what's up? You're back again. Good to see you. Ron and Krish, it's for both of us. Do you think the differences in different parts of America? This question's great. Check this out. Ron and Krish, do you think the differences in different parts of America can be washed away with humor? I love it.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful. I'll answer first, and then Krish, I'll let you answer. I think that in many ways that I think that their humor is a powerful tool for the human condition. I think it is something that does unify people. When you're in a room together laughing, that's a powerful thing. And I think that's something that I miss desperately, and I'm pretty sure Krish does too. I think we both miss it desperately. Yeah. And I'm counting the freaking moments till we get it back again. And Helen, I know you're out in the UK. I can't wait to come to the UK and tour. I've been there before, but I've never toured there before. I've only done a couple sets here and there. I can't wait to tour out there. And I'm going to be like, hey, I know about your horse tracks. I'm going to do 10 minutes about if the horses move fast there, because that's what they're for. And they're in, actually, I already forgot the name of it.
Ascot.
Ascot, huh? You guys like sometimes, what are you in a hurry for, buddy? You got a trip to Ascot? Huh? I can't wait to do that out in the UK.
Everybody in England would be like, let it.
Wait to tour. Do you think there's a chance, Krish, that we as American performers, well, first of all, get to answer Helena's question. So
yeah.
Please answer Helena's question.
Yes, I do think that humor is a very powerful tool. And I've seen it many times. I've had more conservatives show up to my show since 2015 than liberals, right? I was talking to Misty from Action for Assange about this, where over the last 5 years, it's either progressives or conservatives that really come to my show. The liberals that show up leave very angrily because I'm not just doing Orange Man bad jokes, right? And the progressives will get me drunk, which doesn't take a lot. But the conservatives are the one that want to sit down and like talk to you about the stuff that I talked about on stage, because to them it's they've never heard this sort of stuff before, or this is a perspective that's new to me. Let me learn about it a little bit more. It's not all conservatives, but there's been quite a few of them. And I also remember there was a guy with a MAGA hat on in Little Rock, Arkansas, that sat through not just my show, which is this like anti-capitalist, pro-socialist, like, Indian comedian on stage. But before my show, there was a Latino lesbian poet that had, 4 in a row anti-Trump poems. Very powerful poems, but he sat through that. I mean, this was 4.5 hours that he sat through of something that goes against the hat that he was displaying. And he was laughing throughout all of it. Like he was having a good time because I broke the barrier through humor. Unfortunately, I understand he sat through 4 hours of something. He left right after I wrapped up the show. But I would have loved to sit with that guy and talk to him and like figure out what brought him here and what he thought was like. It's the humor. Like in no way, shape, or form would either of us be friends unless he came to my comedy show and laughed at some of the stuff that I was saying. Like when I was making fun of capitalism, like he was laughing about it, probably because we share those beliefs. And it's just a matter of like dropping your guard and not taking yourself as seriously all the time. Like I'm sure I have things and beliefs that I believe in that people are like, well, that's weird and goofy, and they crack a joke about it, and I can sit there and be like, how dare you, brah, or I can laugh at myself and be like, let's talk about these ideas now that we've kind of broken down the walls and let our guard down a little bit. So yeah, I absolutely think that humor is a powerful tool to bring people together. Yeah.
So now here's my question for you, and this is just kind of a fun touring question. Do you think there's a chance we as performers might be able to go elsewhere in the world before we're able to tour the United States again? Do you think that's a possibility?
Probably, but
Really?
it would.
Okay.
We would have to I think we would have to prove that we've gotten some kind of vaccination or something for them to, open their borders to us. Like I feel like there's going to be a little bit more paperwork involved. I think even going to Canada, like if Canada takes care of this thing a little bit faster than America does, like they would probably want to see some kind of paperwork.
Did you know in Canada you don't need a visa to perform?
Yes.
But here, so it's peculiar, and this is kind of insider baseball, so I don't want to harp on it too long. But like, it's peculiar in Canada. So if you or I was doing a show and it was like Ron Placone, Krish Mohan, and it's our show, and the people showing up are people who like what we do, we don't need anything for that. We don't need a visa from Canada. Right. But where you do need something, to my understanding, and maybe this has changed too, but to my understanding, where you would need something is, say, the Yuck Yucks comedy club chain hired us just to be at their clubs. That's a little different. The reason being, if you are, the act and you're the attraction, well, you're not, people are in those seats because you're you. So you're not taking a job away from anyone else because you're yourself. And you're going into a venue that is run by a Canadian, where Canadian people are working. And
Canadians are spending money.
And Canadians are spending money, and they're running sound, and they're behind the bar, and that's what's going on. But if you're hired by a comedy club chain and they're just there because it's a comedy club, they're not there because of your name, well, then they're going to ask the question, why can't a Canadian do this job?
Yeah.
So then it becomes a little different. But if it's just your thing, then you're just treated. That's why bands, like touring bands, they don't need anything, because they're just like, well, we're a band and people are coming to. So I think that's the situation.
The last time I checked, that was the situation, because I remember when I was booking stuff for Lee in Canada, we specifically looked at non-affiliated comedy venues, like more independent, sort of like rock clubs, listening rooms, things of that sort, and we found some really cool ones. But
if you did a special event and it happened to be at Yucks, I feel like they would still honor it.
If the Yucks rented it out, I think the comedy club chain would have to rent it out as a special event. So I think some clubs operate within that. Like when Lee did Comedy Bar in Toronto, that's how they build the show so that they can get American accents. So you have to pay a little upfront, but you get like more of the ticket sales. Or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact deal that they had up there, but that's a way to kind of circumvent it. Is you're billing your own show, so it's not taking work away from Canadian performers. Right. I think when you sell merch, that's what you have to declare. You have to. So what I've heard a lot of bands do is they will kind of eat the merch cost. I have a buddy in Plattsburgh that does that, because Plattsburgh is like an hour from Montreal. So people will come do a show in Plattsburgh, and then they will just leave all their merch with him and take like a handful and put it in their backpacks or whatever. And, it's like 10 CDs for a 4-show run. And maybe they'll sell all 10 in the first leg of the tour, which covers gas for the rest of the tour, and maybe they spend it sporadically. But it's just another way where independent performers are like, we don't want to get raked over the coals, with a bunch of like duty taxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you gotta file that.
Yeah, so selling merch gets a little complicated for independent performers, but you don't need a visa if you're just performing at a rock club. Like if you and Graham go to Montreal and play the Montreal listening room or whatever, like
is that a place? Did you just make
it's
that
not.
Okay. I'd say they got a place.
The place I'm thinking of is Theater St. Catherine.
Are you going to play the Montreal? Everyone in Montreal plays the Montreal. All right. Natalie Williams, what's up? I believe the internet itself should be a public utility, while private industry should be required to honor antitrust and be regulated. I hear you. Yeah. Ben, you're back. What's up, buddy? I'm a programmer developer, and the internet is complex like quantum physics. Yeah, dude, I believe you. My job forces me to understand the mechanics. My job does not force me to do that. So I feel you, Ben. That's awesome, buddy. And I agree, but the ask, quote unquote, is imprecise, and that's why look up like Smith's vid. Okay, cool, man. I'll check that out. And thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate it very much. And I am completely not in your league as far as as far as your understanding of the tech behind all this. I just know where we should go policy wise and how it could be better. Me and you need to team up, Ben. We need to team up, where I'll just give you my policy wishes and you make it a reality with your with your programming prowess, and we'll take over the world, Ben. We'll take over the world. Right?
I just peeked over to see his little icon, and it is Ben Reilly, which is a Spider-Man character. So I like Ben already. So
Oh, right. Well, I noticed it.
yeah,
Who is
Ben
who's
Reilly is Peter Parker's clone. It's like one
Oh,
yeah, it's
I
like
figured Ben was his real name. So Ben may or may, I
splits
mean, it's
people down
still
the middle.
cool, but
Yeah,
oh, I didn't know that. I
it's a
thought
big win for Ben Reilly.
I thought Peter Parker's clone was Peter Parker.
No, it becomes Ben. It's a whole big complicated story from the early 90s that like splits comic book fans down the middle. Like some people really like the Clone Saga. Other people are like, why is this happening?
Oh, I couldn't get into it, man. I mean, because I remember reading them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I would go to there was this place, I think it's actually still there, but there was this place down the street from where my grandparents lived, and it was just called Speedy Mart, and it was just a local little market. And my grandfather would give me, God, I feel so old right now telling this story, because that was back, comic books were $1.50. I don't know what they cost now, but they used to be $1.50, and they would have the price like right on the thing. And my grandfather would give me like $2 typically, so like tax would be covered too. And I would go to the Speedy Mart and I would buy the comic book, like just whatever they had showing, like the latest Spider-Man. But if you ever missed an issue, you got lost, because like they cloned him like a bunch of times. And like, so midway through, you're reading it, and midway through, you're like, oh, this isn't actually Peter Parker. And the real guy he might be stuck in some like mutant bed or something. And you're just, I couldn't, it just went too far off the deep end, you know?
Yeah, I tried to.
I know some diehards probably loved it, but I had a hard time. I was very young too, so maybe.
Yeah. My sister helped me start my comic book collection when I was like in middle school. And I remember I was so excited because there was a new different kind of Spider-Man called Scarlet Spider. And I got super excited. So I tried to read through it, and I never really fell in love with. There's other Spider-Man stories that are incredible and amazing. But the Ben Reilly stuff, I was like, man, I just feel like I feel like he never got written right, which is like going too comic book nerdy or anything. And he's got like every time he shows up, it's just always a tragedy. Like something bad happens to Ben Reilly in the comic books. And I feel really bad for him because I feel like they don't give him his due. So right now we're giving Ben his due, because he's gonna team up and save the internet.
So, and by the way, Ben, thank you very much for the additional super chat. I appreciate it very much, buddy, and thank you for everything you do, and thank you for getting us off on this Spider-Man. I like it. Well, so before we get off Spider-Man, how excited were you, Krish, when you were watching Spider-Man 3? And it turned into a fucking musical. How stoked were you?
Oh, man.
Was that the greatest thing? Like, were you sitting there like, is this fucking, why? What's going on here? Is that like, were you looking, have you ever been in a movie where it's like that bad that you're looking around the theater and you're like, should we protest this? Do you guys want to go bowling? Like, what the fuck? How do we salvage this? Like,
dude, that's exactly what it was. When I was I went with 3 of my friends, and when
we being punked right now? If this isn't the actual thing,
when he starts dancing in the streets, like all of us were just like
eyeliner, and it turns into a Tobey Maguire turns into a Broadway performer, and they do a fucking musical, and it's a Spider-Man. He starts playing a song. You're like, what is this?
Yeah. And oh my god, it was so bad. I just remember watching this.
How did everyone in the editing room? There's an editing room. It's a thing. How did all of them? No one said, no. They all looked at that and said, okay. All of them just, this is great. Why did you do that?
There's a part of it that I think like Sam Raimi was just basically saying fuck you to Sony Pictures at that point, where he just made this movie insane because they wanted a whole bunch of villains, and he just wanted the movie to be about Venom. So there's a whole like, you know, story and little rumor that he wrote those parts to kind of as like a big middle finger to Sony.
Oh,
yeah, because they got in the way. But I mean, dude, I remember watching that. And by the way, I've rewatched that movie.
Why?
It's just as, because I was like, maybe I missed something. Maybe it's better as I'm older. Maybe I'll get the humor now that I'm a little older. And it's still bad. Like, it is aged like milk. It's bad, dude.
First of all, I haven't watched a Spider-Man movie since. Well, except you know what? I saw Into the Spider-Verse, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Love that movie.
Yeah, it was great. I did not know what to expect.
The Tom Holland ones are great too.
And I thought it was great.
Yeah, the Tom Holland ones are really good too because they capture both Peter Parker and Spider-Man really well. Like, they do a really good job because they understand the character and how to play him as a high school kid that's just figuring shit out. So it's done really well. The action sequences are done well. Like, yeah, I like the newer Spider-Man movies. And Into the Spider-Verse was just a knockout. Like, and the casting is incredible. Like, fucking Nick Cage is Spider-Man Noir, which is awesome.
That's funny, man. Well, hey, oh wait, here we go. We got one more. Helen says, next question. What do you think the next Biden term will lead to? Well, I don't know if there's going to be a next one. I mean, I don't think, I mean, I'm pretty confident Biden is not going to run for re-election. That's not going to happen. I mean, what do you think, Krish? Do you think
he's too old?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think he has the energy to do it.
So I don't know if there's going to be a next one. I think Kamala will probably get the nod, which is sad. But I think that as far as what can we expect from this one, that's unfortunately not a very uplifting question. I mean, you know, I've posed questions to Richard Wolff and Medea Benjamin, who were on the both were on the show recently, as far as like, okay, this is the administration that's here. What are kind of the best case scenarios? What are some things we can really start fighting for? And, I know Medea's answer was, she was like, well, we got to pressure him to support the Yemen, the resolution for Yemen, the bill that Ro Khanna put forward. He said he would. Actions speak louder than words, but it's like you got to try to hold his feet to the fire and make him do this. And so foreign policy wise, that's something. Of course, he's also, he's already like amping up things in Syria, and then he's pointing more warmongers. So, when he told Wall Street nothing will fundamentally change, he meant it, folks. He really did. And as far as structurally, I think that when people are saying that Joe Biden could be an FDR, I think that is comically ridiculous. FDR was not the big radical lefty that he governed as, but what FDR had was he had the foresight to realize, hey, look at those people out there. They're pissed and they ain't going anywhere. So he had the foresight to go up to his rich friends and he's like, you guys are going to give away something or you're going to give away everything. Your choice. But here's what you need to do. Joe Biden does not have that foresight at all, nor does he care. What Joe Biden could potentially be, maybe, and we're talking best case scenario, which of course, let's shoot for the best case scenario, see where it all lands. I think it's fair to say Biden could potentially be an LBJ style president. What I mean by that, LBJ was an asshole. Yes. But LBJ signed some okay things because he was backed into a corner, and he knew if he didn't, that people would not tolerate it. So, I think it's possible, given the fact that we're in a pandemic, given the fact, they're going to have to throw we the people some bones. They're just going to have to. So it's up to us to make sure that those bones got meat on them. It's up to us to not just let some performative bullshit be all there is, and to actually force Joe Biden doing some things that, let's be honest, he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to actually help the working class. But, if we back him into a corner, kind of like what happened with LBJ, you might get him to sign off on some stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's the best case scenario.
I agree with you. That's the thing is FDR, they keep calling him an FDR, but he's nowhere near
No, he's not. I mean, come on.
Nowhere near that. And FDR, like you said, he had the foresight.
FDR was far from perfect. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Saying, like
he was a nephew of a banker. He he was the one that kind of destroyed the postal bank. He wasn't the perfect president. But I mean, Joe Biden's nowhere close. And I think LBJ is probably what he'll wind up doing is he's going to reluctantly end up having to sign bills that he doesn't want to. And one of those things could be something dealing with healthcare and something dealing with defunding the police, considering those are two of the largest movements we're seeing in our country right now. And I don't know when this is going to happen. I hope soon, because I know Jimmy's talked about it. I've talked about it. And a bunch of people have talked about it, is the just blatant disrespect he showed to civil rights leaders in December is like, that's gonna come out at some point. I think when he starts talking about racial divides and unifying the country, at some point that interview is going to come out, at which, he listens to them for 45 minutes and then starts his response with, look, I gotta go. Yeah. What? So
that was so gross.
That was
he's just grumpy. Like, he's just a curmudgeon. But he knows how to put the face on when he has to. He knows how to be. I mean, I watched some of the inauguration, and it was just gross. And it was just, I mean, especially, Al Roker. Did you see that?
No, I missed the whole inauguration because I didn't want to raise my blood pressure.
You didn't miss shit. But, Al Roker was yelling over to Joe Biden because, like, the press was kind of sectioned off for social distancing. Okay. And he was yelling over to Joe Biden like he was at the Ed show while the Beatles were there, and he's a teenager, and he's just yelling. And Biden comes over and gives him a fist bump, and they're like, "Oh, he's making time for America." And it was just so gross watching these elites pat each other on the back and celebrate like everything's fine. Meanwhile, people are food insecure, people are housing insecure. People are lined up for food all of the Great Depression. And it's anyway, but yeah.
Most hopeful answer, I think.
I mean, that's the best so to make that answer as short as possible, best case scenario, Biden is an LBJ style president, meaning that he's forced to do things he really doesn't want to do because he has no other option. Anything he does that helps people, he will not want to do it. Mm-hmm. But if he's in a corner and he has no choice, well, there you go. Ben, thank you so much for your generosity today, my man. And you say, we take over the world, Medicare for all and free college. Oh, yeah, because you and I are taking over the world, buddy. And you say, if we take over the world, Medicare for all and free college would be my priority. But I have a thing next Monday. All right. Have your people get in touch with my people, Ben. We'll make this happen. I actually loved Spider-Man's 1 and 2. I like those ones too.
The first two,
3 wasn't unforgivable. I don't know, Ben. I think we got to disagree there.
And let's see how this new third one goes.
Wait, there's another new third one coming out?
Well, because they did the Tom Holland ones, because he's in the MCU. So they did 2 with him, and both of those were really good. And now they're kind of they're doing something crazy. They're kind of drifting into multiverse territory, and that always gets kind of nuts.
Because Multiverse was a good movie. They're like, how can we fuck this up? How can we ruin that? It was a great movie. Let's ruin. I mean, it was funny. It was clever. It was unexpected. Like, let's fuck this up. Let's ruin this. Let's try to. That's meant to be animated. So they're probably going to do a non-animated version of it.
I know,
and make it too much of a drama, and they're just going to ruin it. And they're going to have so many story webs going.
That's what I'm worried about.
And that they're just gonna kill it. And then you'll sit through the whole thing, Krish.
Oh, I'll watch the whole thing.
I'll just get the review from you. That's what I'll do. Oh man, Krish, where can everyone go and find you?
You can go to my website, which is krishmohanhaha.com. It's KrishMohanhaha.com. And at Krish Mohan Haha on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Brilliant. And someday Krish will be out on the road again, as will myself. Yes. Helena, thank you so much. Ben, thank you so much. Helena again, Nizer, thank you. Helena, Natalie, Ben, Helena, Ben, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for Ben also says Neolib Playbook takes real SJW issues and make money off of them. Ugh. Yep.
Yeah.
That's totally the Neolib Playbook.
Yeah.
Guys, we will be back tomorrow, and Justin Jackson joins the show tomorrow. So, maybe he saw today where I talked about how is Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? We're going to talk football the whole time. I'll just be like, who's playing? No, I'm looking forward to talking to him because he has been a big activist and a big Medicare for All advocate, because he actually has a history there where I believe when he was a child, he lost his mom due to lack of health care. So we're going to get to talk to him about, about his story and about how he's been using his platform as an NFL running back to spread the word. It's really cool what he's doing, and I'm super stoked to talk to him. So he's on the show tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for your support today. And of course, if you are able on stable ground and interested, patreon.com/Ron Placone for Give What You Can, Love What You get, all kinds of exclusive content, streams, a Zoom show once a week just for patrons. And I'll make you a theme song. I've been making theme songs for folks. I just did a theme song for Whole Washington, the single payer group. It's a lot of fun. If you're able, interested, patreon.com/Ron Placone. And it's all Give What You Can. It's one tier, Give What You Can. Check Krish out, KrishMohanhaha.com. Follow him on the Twitter. See him when he comes to a city near you someday when that is a thing again. And in the meantime, y'all know the drill. See you tomorrow. And Lucy says meow. She's not sitting in her usual spot. It's fucking me up. Usually I point to her, and she's on the chair that I'm pointing to, and she hears me, and she perks up, and then my heart melts a little bit. And that's how I roll. And I see that, which by the way, it's a little chilly here in Southern California. How do I know it's chilly? Lucy has gone under the blanket, which, and yeah, again, it melts my heart every time. She could knock over like a week's worth of groceries into a vault of lava. I don't know how that would happen, but I'm just saying she could totally ruin a week's worth of groceries. And I'd be like, oh, why'd you do that? And if she crawled under a blanket with me, all would be forgiven instantly. I'd be like, you're the best. You want a treat? I should give you a treat so you don't know what you did was wrong. Let's just... I am a total pushover.
I do the same thing with Milo.
How can you not? Milo is Krish's cat. Lucy, for anyone not to know, is my cat. You can check out our webcomic at lucyandron.com. But she's not on our chair. I'll go find her. She gets a brush and a treat soon. But anyway, you know the drill. We'll be back tomorrow. Lucy, she says meow, and I say peace.